So we just saw some people and they've only caught 4 mackerel today. They've been here for 3 hours and a couple of weeks ago they had 200. 200 mackerel in one go. Just off rods. Daft things mackerel, they go for anything. We decided to watch the Queen's funeral from the van. One of the advantages with having the satellite dish and the TV aerial is we can get coverage just about everywhere. I like the silhouettes of these guys. It was a full sunny day, but they just were captured in silhouette perfectly. This little waterfall, very high, not a massive amount of water coming over it at this time of year, probably impressive in the winter, but quite a little surprise for this little nature reserve. You can see puffins here at the right time of year. We didn't, and we were being careful with Suzie. She couldn't walk very fast, so we kept fairly close to the van. We went down to St Cyrus Nature Reserve. Brilliant beach, absolutely brilliant. And the amazing thing was all this driftwood. Yeah, there must have been there were lots of storms earlier on in the year, but the sheer amount of driftwood on the beach, for as far as the eye could see. I found a lovely piece of oak with a dirty great burl on it, and if I'd a chainsaw with me, I'd have had that because it would have made a wonderful bowl on the lathe. But if you had a wood burner in the stove, this has to be the place to be. The car park is free to park in. They've got toilets. It's just a lovely little spot, and we could have stayed there a couple of days. We popped into our Montrose to do some shopping, and this caught our eye in one of the shop windows. Really well made. And then we went off to Arbroath, and we had some smokies, but the best thing we ate was a smoky pie. It was lovely, and I think we'll buy some of those again should we visit again in the future. Around the town there was these strange bits of art everywhere. Karen liked this, she does a lot of needlework, and that took her fancy, I think. We did have a look around at the abbey, but there was Harris fencing everywhere. You couldn't really get to see very much of it. But as you can see, sun was out. It was a nice day. The town itself, not bad at all. Even though I did end up going for a hell of a long walk to find a toilet in the high street. Ended up in Lidl's. End of motorhome parking area. Not that anyone takes any notice of it. So I wonder how long Arbroath Council will tolerate freeloaders taking the piss. The van next to us just emptied their grey tanks all over this parking area before clearing off, because obviously freeloaders can't be bothered to go and do it properly somewhere else. You almost feel ashamed of the human race when you see the behaviour of people taking advantage of something for free. But this space between these two red signs was full up last night. Amazingly, the locals park their cars here as well, so you can't be certain you'll actually get a spot. You may have to queue up and wait. But there's motorhomes all the way along here last night, and then there's an area beyond that football ground which is also seemingly a free park up with no restrictions at all. But Arbroath, what a lovely town, really nice. We bought some smokies, which we may or may not eat today or tomorrow, but not a bad spot, and you've got a really nice view of the sea. I wanted to get that off my chest. It made me cross. Obviously not everyone behaves like that, but sometimes. Anyway, this was a good mishap. We end up in a little lay-by by a picturesque little bungalow looking out towards Forter Castle. We should have been over there, below that hill. That's where the actual road went. So we stop, cup of tea, walk the dogs, and there's the castle over there in the distance, and a lovely view. Absolutely cracking. It's a private castle. I don't think you can visit it, but we drove round to the right when we left and joined up with the road we should have been on. My navigation's crap, especially when I'm following Google Maps. And then we'd been to the vets at Muir and then stopped at Glenshee. We stopped at two ski centres, and this was just funny. E.T. on a bicycle. Those who haven't watched the film E.T., you won't know what I mean, but watch it. Next morning, well foggy. Really, really, really foggy initially. It did clear. It's a very, very steep hill going down from Glenshee down towards Braemar, but it did clear as we entered into Braemar. And we had a lovely coffee and a really nice piece of cake at the Highland Games Centre, which is pristine, beautiful site. And Braemar itself is a lovely little town or village or whatever you call it. We spent a little bit wandering. And I think they were rehearsing, or maybe there was a minibus of visitors. This young lady was doing some Highland dancing on this platform for a few visitors. We just nosed about. There are camping electrical hookup points in this car park here, but it doesn't look like you can actually use them or park there overnight. Then we went to look for this thing, the Kinord Cross. It was a longer walk than we anticipated, but it was worthwhile. It was a really nice walk. And the car park at, I think it's the Muir Dinnet, allows campers overnight. It has all the facilities you could really want. And this burno vat, Suzie, you can see at the top there, she climbed up a rock, and it wasn't obvious until I went round that side how high she'd gone, and she was definitely feeling better by then, as you can see. And then you go through this narrow gap between the rocks just over there in the middle there, and you come out in this waterfall in this area. It's well worth the short walk up to see it, and that's what the car park's primarily for. The walks to the other lock that we went to see, the Pictish stone, it's just one of the many walks there, but it's primarily this burner vat that people come to see. Definitely one to go back to again. There's a lovely walk up to a viewpoint. There's the gap. That's the gap you can walk through. So you need one of them boots to get through there. But it takes you up to this viewpoint. No treats?
No, I have nothing.
No biscuits? No biscuits, apparently. Ice? Melt water. Quite a viewpoint. Bit of history about the local area. An etching showing places. And the lock down there is where we walked yesterday to get to the Pictish cross. This one's depicting what you can see in the birch woods. Well, it's a cracking little viewpoint on the return journey from the waterfall, which is down that path there. What a really lovely, lovely place. This is what I would consider to be a proper motorhome air. Parking, free parking, cassette toilet, emptying facilities, and a fresh water tap. That's really all you need. We had intended to drive to Tomintoul, or Tomintoul, however you pronounce it, but there were roadworks and the road was closed, so we took a diversion which ended up taking us through Banchory. So stopped here and had a nose about. This was unusual. Loads and loads of painted rocks as part of a lockdown project. I used to have a relative lived here, so I've been here a few times. Never down to this particular bridge though, over the river, and there were falls, and I think if we'd stayed here forever and a day, we'd have caught a few more fish. But I think I managed to capture. There it goes. I managed to capture one salmon or trout or whatever it was leaping. I did film for quite a while, but I stopped just as about 3 or 4 more flew up. But it's always interesting to see them jump. We've seen similar all over the country. Crathes, lovely place. Not sure whether this or Craigievar is my favourite. I think it's Craigievar, but they both have these amazing ceilings. Crathes especially so. There's lots of pictures like this between the beams in the various rooms. Quite extraordinary. The quality of the workmanship. I think it's some in Craigievar have been uncovered. These ones here may have been redone. And then we spent the night here at Tomnaverie Stone Circle in the car park. This stone circle's high up, so staggering views all the way around. I wandered up here the previous evening and there was a bit of a sunset. Didn't bring the camera unfortunately, but really lovely place. Large stone circle, and there's what they call a recumbent stone, that one over there in the centre laying down, which is the largest of the stones. And then as I get to the crest of this hill, just in the foreground, when I pan left a bit, pan left, there we go, just above the recumbent stone, there's actually a concrete manhole and a few air vents, and it's a bunker, a nuclear bunker of some kind, or some kind of Cold War bunker. Quite extraordinary. You've effectively got 5,000 years of history, this stone circle dating back thousands of years, and something from the 1950s or 60s. Still think this is probably my favourite. Been here several times. It was looking a bit run down. They were about to close it for the year. The toilets aren't particularly good. I think National Trust probably do need to do a bit of rework on this one. But internally it's lovely, and the outside, you could look at these fixtures and fittings. They've been there for hundreds of years. There are quite a few original pieces. Some of these have been replaced, I think, but there's original pieces upstairs in one of the galleries to look at. But yeah, I like this castle. Always try and go to it if I can. A little tea room that's just behind this turret, whatever it is, in the garden. Then we went to the Grampian Transport Museum at Alford. They do allow overnight parking in their car park, but they had an event on, we couldn't stop there this time around. But we had a nose about. There's lots to see there, and Billy Connolly's trike caught my eye. I took loads of photographs, so I don't think I'd fill them all up. And then there's Eddie Irvine's 4-in-1 Jaguar there. And then the following night, up to the Lecht ski centre on the way to Tomintoul. And they had a snowblower machine that I've obviously been playing with. Not so foggy in this one, but a seriously steep hill down again to get to the Lecht mine, which I think has also got a potential parking spot nearby. We didn't use it because the ski centre was adequate for that particular night. But we had a wander about, looked at the Lecht mine, and then we trundled off into Tomintoul, mainly to have a walkabout, bit of fresh air, and also to use the facilities and the coffee shop, which is in the old fire station. My father, years and years ago, was a principal officer of Kent Fire Brigade, so it was interesting to have a nose about at what they had in here as part of the cafe. And then, just by sheer randomness, didn't even know this was here, found the old bridge at Livet. And the car park is right on top of, you're literally right next to the bridge. We could have probably stayed here overnight. No signs, nothing to say you couldn't do, relatively flat. And it was only because I went for a walk while Karen was doing some cross stitch. I went for a walk up to this castle, Drumin Castle, that made the decision where we were going to stop that night. We parked in the car park below Drumin Castle, and that was lovely. And there's a wonderful walk along the river that actually goes back to the bridge at Livet, which I took on the way back with the dog. But this is unusual. Look at this. An orchard in the grounds of the castle. Beyond that fence is private property. I think it's either a farmyard. And then look at this place. This is the sort of place that makes picture postcards. When we came to Scotland the year before last, I intended to come to this bridge, but the A95 down from Huntly was closed due to an accident, and they flew in the air ambulance, so I never made it. But this is a really postcard
perfect bridge. You can only really park where we are. There are boulders on the access road either side, so you can't stop there. The bridge itself doesn't go anywhere. It actually hits a wall because this has been replaced it. The bridge over the River Spey for the A95. But isn't that beautiful? Absolutely fantastic. What's amazing is directly under the bridge you get the effect of an echo. A few feet either side and it doesn't work, but standing where I am now you've got this amazing echo effect. Whoops. Note to self, keep camera straight.
We then headed off towards Aberlour, I think that's how you pronounce it. Saw a sign saying more Pictish stones at Inveravon church, and there was 4. Well worth seeing. Interesting little churchyard as well. Had a bit of a wander about. It was one of those roads you started going down thinking, oh, we made a wrong choice here. Will there be someone to turn around? But there was. Definitely well worth a stop. And then we headed off into Aberlour, into the public car park, had lunch, took the dogs across that bridge there just to see what was on the other side. And then we went to the Walker's factory shop and bought lots and lots of shortbread. And then headed off for the night to Rhynie. More Pictish stones just in the car park for the churchyard. Quite an amazing churchyard. And then an interesting walk up a hill to this. Another a stone set in the liver field. So Karen got her fill of Pictish stones on this trip. And now, the following morning, we went off to find the Picardy stone. We're a bit Star Trek fans, so the name seemed good. But this road clearly had been clobbered in all the storms. And lots and lots of beaches. Bit Game of Thrones almost. There's an avenue in the film or the TV series Game of Thrones with lots of beaches, but there's been a heck of a lot of trees fallen here, and the roots have obviously thrown huge clumps of soil up, which is why they'd had the road closed for a while. But I thought, give it a go. Nothing to lose. Could always turn around if we couldn't have gone any further. Just to get up this stone, and I tried sticking an arrow in. It's coming up shortly, just to sort of point out where the stone is as we approach it. Getting the hang of this slowly. This video didn't last, but that one was particularly sticking out into the road, and so is this one here. But they were once upon a time lovely trees, all gone. It just shows the violence of the storms. In that clip earlier at the beach at Cyrus, most of that wood must have been results of storms earlier on in the year. Anyway, I'll just leave you now watching us travelling up to this stone.
In a quarter of a mile, your destination will be on the right.
I don't understand why the root balls have got into the road. They're lovely trees, aren't they? Should have captured that as well. I don't know which bit I've got. Yeah. Beach.
Your destination is on the right.
So that concludes part 2. Thanks for watching, and hope you enjoy part 3. which will conclude our little trip to Scotland for this year.